Hi guys, welcome to day 10 of our reading of City of Ember. In the part we read last time, Lena and June found out that the mayor and his guards had been putting up signs all over Ember saying that June and Lena were wanted for spreading vicious rumors and that there would be a reward if anyone had any information about them or where they were. So Lena and June are now running from the guards, and they're currently hiding in their old school, and they're getting ready to write a message well, they haven't decided who they're going to give it to yet, but they're writing a message to leave behind so that June's dad and Mrs. Murdo will know where they are. And they decided that they were going to go ahead and go during the singing while everyone else is busy with the singing. And so they're getting ready to write that message now. Well, all right, Lena said. Let's write our message then. June wrote for a long time. When he was finished, he showed what he'd written to Lena. He explained how to find the rock with the E, how to go down to the boat room, even how to use the candles. It's good, she said. Now we have to deliver it. She paused a moment to see if she had any courage inside her. She found that she did, along with sadness and fear and excitement. I'll deliver it, she said. I'm the messenger after all. I know back ways to go where no one will see me. An idea struck her. June, maybe Clary will be home. Maybe she would keep us safe and help us tell what we know, and we wouldn't have to leave right now. June quickly shook his head. I doubt it, he said. She's probably with her singing group getting ready. You'll just have to leave the note under her door. Lena could tell from his tone of voice that June didn't really want Clary to be home. She supposed he had his heart set on their going down the river by themselves. June glanced up at the clock on the schoolroom wall. It's a little after 2, he said. The singing begins at 3. After that, everyone will be in Harkin Square and the streets will be empty. I think we can get to the pipeworks safely then. Why don't we leave about 3:15? You still have the key? June nodded. So, after I've delivered the note to Clary, I'll come back here, said Lena. Yes, and then we'll wait until 3:15, and then we'll go. Lena got up from the cramped desk and went to the window. She moved the blind a little and peered out. There was no one in the street. The dusty schoolroom was very quiet. She thought about June's father, who would be frantic when he saw his son's name on those posters, and then realized later that June had disappeared. She thought about Mrs. Murdo, who might already have seen the posters, and who would be frightened if guards came looking for Lena, and terrified if Lena didn't come home by nightfall. She tried not to think about Poppy at all. She couldn't bear it. Give me the note, she said to June at last. She folded the piece of paper carefully and put it in the pocket of her pants. Back soon, she said, and went out of the room and down the hall to the rear door of the school. June went to the window to watch her go. He moved the blind aside just enough to see out into Pibb Street. There she was, running in that long-legged way with her hair flying. She started across Stonegrit Lane. Just before she reached the other side, June's breath stopped in his throat. 2 guards rounded the corner from Knack Street directly ahead of her. One of them was the chief guard. He leapt forward and shouted so loudly June could hear him plainly through the glass. That's her! Get her! Lena reversed her direction in an instant. She raced back down Pibb Street, turned down School Street toward Bilbolio Square, and vanished from June's sight. The guards ran after her, shouting. June watched, sick with horror. She's much faster than they are, he told himself. She'll lose them. She knows places to hide. He stood frozen next to the window, hardly breathing. They won't catch her, he thought. I'm sure they won't catch her. Chapter 16, The Singing. When Lena heard the guards shout, terror shot through her. She ran faster than she ever had before, her heart pounding wildly. Behind her, the guards kept up their shouting, and she knew that if other guards were nearby, they would come running. She had to find a hiding place. Ahead of her was Bilbolio Square. Was there a place she could duck into? And, like an answer, June's words came back to her. The library. It's almost always open, even on holidays. She didn't have time to think. She didn't ask herself whether Edward Pocket would be willing to hide her, or whether there would even be a good place to hide in the library. She just ran for the passageway that led to the library door and darted down it. But the library door wouldn't open. She turned the knob frantically. She pulled and pushed, and then at the same time that she heard the running footsteps of the guards coming into the square, she saw the small handwritten sign stuck to the door, closed for the singing. The guards were very near now. If she ran, they would see her. She flattened herself against the wall, hoping they wouldn't think to look in the library passage. But they did. "Here she is!" yelled one of the guards. She tried to shoot past him, but the passage was too narrow, and he caught her by the arm. She pulled and twisted and kicked, but the chief guard had her now, too. He gripped her other arm with fingers that felt like iron. "Stop your struggling," he shouted. Lena reached up and grabbed a handful of his wiry beard. She pulled with all her might, and the chief guard roared, but he didn't let go. He yanked her forward, almost off the ground, and the two guards dragged her across the square at an awkward, lopsided pace that made her stumble over her own feet. "You're hurting me," Lena said. "Don't hold so tight." "Don't you tell us what to do," said the chief guard. "We'll hold you tight till we get you where you're going." "Where is that?" said Lena. She was so enraged at her bad luck that she almost forgot to be afraid. "You're going to see the mayor, missy," said the chief guard. "He'll decide what to do with you." "But I haven't done anything wrong." "Spreading vicious rumors," said the guard, "telling dangerous lies calculated to cause civic unrest." "It's not a lie," she said. But the guard gripped her arm even more tightly and gave her a shove so she stumbled sideways. "No talking," he said, and they walked the rest of the way in grim silence. A few people had already gathered in Harkin Square, though the workers were still getting it ready for the singing. Street sweepers crossed the square, back and forth, pushing their brooms. Someone appeared at a second-floor window of a building on Gilly Street and unfurled one of the banners that was always displayed for the singing, a long piece of red cloth, faded after years of use, but still showing its design of wavy lines, representing the river, the source of all power. That was for the Song of the River. There would be a banner on the Broad Street side of the square, too, this one deep yellow gold with a design like a grid to represent the Song of the City, and another banner on the Otterwell side for the Song of Darkness, perfectly black except for a narrow yellow edge. The guards marched Lena up the steps of the gathering hall and through the wide doorway. They took her down the main corridor, opened the door at the end, and gave her one last push, a push that caused her to stagger forward in an undignified way and bump up against the back of a chair. It was the same room she'd been in that other, much happier day, her first day as a messenger. Nothing had changed. The frayed red curtains, the armchairs with upholstery worn thin, the hideous mud-colored carpet. The portraits on the wall looked down at her sorrowfully. "Sit there," said the chief guard. He pointed at a small, hard-looking chair that faced the large armchair. Lena sat. Next to the chair was the small table she remembered from before, with the china teapot and a tray of china teacups with chips around their edges. The chief guard left the room to find the mayor, Lena supposed. The other one stood silently with his arms folded across his chest. Nothing happened for a while. Lena tried to think about what she would say to the mayor, but her mind wouldn't work. Then the door to the front hall opened and the mayor came in. It was the first time Lena had seen him up close since she had delivered Looper's message to him. He seemed even more immense. His baggy face was the color of a mushroom. He wore a black suit that stretched only far enough across his vast belly for one button to connect with its buttonhole. He moved ponderously around the room and settled into the armchair, filling it completely. Next to his chair was a table, and on the table was a brass bell the size of a fist. The mayor gazed for a moment at Lena with eyes that looked like the openings of tunnels, and then he turned to the guard. "Dismissed!" he said, waving the back of his hand at him. Return when I ring the bell. The guard left. The mayor swung his gaze back to Lena. I'm not surprised, he said. He lifted one arm and pointed a finger at Lena's face. You have been in trouble before, going where you shouldn't. Lena started to speak, but the mayor held up his hand. It was an oddly small hand with short fingers like ripe pea pods. Curiosity, said the mayor, a dangerous quality. Unhealthy, especially regrettable in one so young. I'm 12, said Lena. Silence, said the mayor. I am speaking. He wriggled slightly from side to side, wedging himself more firmly into the chair. He'd need to be pried out of it, Lena thought. Ember, as you know, the mayor went on, is in a time of difficulty. Extraordinary measures are necessary. This is a time when citizens should be most loyal, most law-abiding, for the good of all. Lena said nothing. She watched how the flesh under the mayor's chin bulged in and out as he spoke, and then she turned her eyes from that unpleasant sight and looked carefully around the room. She was thinking now, calculating, but not about what the mayor was saying. The duties of a mayor, said the mayor, are complex, cannot be understood by regular citizens, particularly children. That is why, he went on, leaning slightly forward so that his stomach pushed farther out along his lap, certain things must remain hidden from the public. The public would not understand. The public must have faith, said the mayor, once again holding up his hand, this time with a finger pointing to the ceiling, that all is being done for their benefit, for their own good. Hogwash, said Lena. The mayor jerked backward. His eyebrows came down over his eyes, making them into dark slits. What? He said. Surely I heard you incorrectly. I said hogwash, said Lena. It means... Do not presume to tell me what it means, the mayor cried. Impudence will make things worse for you. He was breathing heavily, and his words came out with spaces between them. A misguided child, such as yourself, requires a forceful lesson. His short fingers gripped the arms of the chair. Perhaps, he said, your curiosity has led you to wonder about the prison room. What could it be like, eh? Dark, cold, uncomfortable? He made the smile that Lena remembered from assignment day, his lips pulled away from his small teeth, his gray cheeks folded. You will have a chance to find out. You will become closely acquainted with the prison room. The guards will escort you there. Your accomplice, another known troublemaker, will join you as soon as he is located. The mayor turned to look for the bell. This was the moment when Lena had planned to make a dash for freedom. She thought she had a slim chance to succeed if she moved fast enough. But something happened in that instant that gave her a head start. The lights went out. There was no flicker this time, just sudden, complete darkness. It was fortunate that Lena had already planned her move and knew exactly which way to go. She leapt up, knocking over her chair. With her arm, she made a wide swipe and knocked over the table next to the chair as well. The furniture thumping to the floor, the teapot shattering, and the mayor's enraged shouts made a clamor that covered the sound of her footsteps as she dashed to the stairway door. Was it unlocked? She reached for the knob. Grunts and squeaks told her that the mayor was struggling to rise from his chair. She turned the knob and pulled, and the door sprang open. She closed the door behind her and leapt upward 2 steps at a time. Even in the pitch dark, she could climb stairs. In the room, the bell clanged, and the mayor bellowed. When she got to the first landing, she heard the guards shouting. There was a crash. Someone must have fallen over the toppled chair or table. Where is she? Someone yelled. Must have run out the door. Did they know which door? She didn't hear footsteps behind her. If she could make it to the roof, and if from the roof she could jump to the roof of the prison room and from there to the street, then maybe she could escape. Her lungs were on fire now, her breath was burning her throat, but she climbed without stopping, and when she came to the top, she burst through the door to the roof and ran out. And that was when the lights came back on. It was as if the blackout had been arranged especially for her. I am so lucky, she thought, so extremely lucky. Ahead of her was the clock tower. She ran around to the other side of it. No dancing on the roof this time. All right, you're probably not going to like my stopping place, but I'm going to stop here for today, kids. So you'll find out what happens to Lena next time.